What's up, everybody? Fearin here, and we are back at it again here today with another Siege video. We got Siege Battle about to start here. Let's see who we pull. And we got SD and SWAGanomics. So we're going to take a look at their defenses. SD has some interesting Armana stuff. We see some LDs. We see some more LDs on the 10s. A little bit of this Theo Molly Sager, which we actually haven't seen a ton of recently, but is still pretty strong, and some MST. So we're going to go first into this Nana Savannah Juno. We're going to take in Tractor Windy Lala. I like to take in pretty high damage Tractor here and a triple revenge Windy. As you can see, there's not quite as much damage output from this variant of the team. I think the only real worry as far as threat against this comp at least is if they have just like an insanely high damage Nana. So if you're going to prioritize something here in terms of moving some extra runes, I think making it so that your Lala is as tanky as possible is really important. And then trying to play around the defense break windows from the Savannah, or from the Nana, also from the Savannah, but not as much since they're only going to be able to defense break your Lala here. So what we're trying to do here is make sure that we have Dispels out, potentially an S3 to fully recover the health of our team whenever we get low, whenever we get the defense break from the Nana. And you can also... I like to focus down the Savannah early, but sometimes I'll throw out some skill ones onto the Nana from the Tractor just to limit the amount of damage that we're taking. Since again, I think that the real risk to this comp is either a Despair Nana plus Juno, Sunlocking my Lala, which again, not super likely to have happen unless we get the defense break to bring the aggro over from the Juno. So really it's just about protecting your Lala from those defense break windows. So this Savannah seems like it was a little squishy here, a little tankier, but some damage still on that Nano. We saw as a violent build, so we're not worried about Despair procs. We're just worried about potentially, again, that defense break and the damage. But we have Windy Shield making everything a little tankier. We have Tractor on violent, trying to throw out some extra defense breaks. And I think we got this dismount from the Savannah to get rid of the speed buff and the AoE defense break, or at least one of them. And here I think we're going to finish off the Nana to get rid of the stack on the Nana, and then we are going to kill the Savannah for real, and the resulting 2v3 should be pretty easy for us to win. One other thing that you can try and do to make this safer is make sure that Windy is keeping up defense or speed debuff as much as possible on the Savannah, especially when it's still mounted. Just to reduce that damage and reduce the cycling from the main damage threat. And then we're hoping too that the triple revenge can proc potentially off the Savannah S3. Or you could probably even go like a different broken but full damage build here. I think when you have like Jogan or Ken, you're getting a lot more potential AoEs for revenges, and you get the revenges on the Nana as well. But I think really anything here probably works fine for that build. Next, we're going to go into this 5-star LD tower. We see a Sylvia Kumar and a Savannah. I think basically Leo negates a lot of this defense, but it's still kind of annoying because we have the Beast Monk heals. Savannah cycling with the Sylvia can get a lot of AoE defense breaks, but we're going to bring in kind of a pretty tried and true, just pretty good comp with the Leo Helena. I like to run the Lulu with this over UC the Jean a lot. I think that Max Res could be nice into a team like this because there could be low accuracy on the Savannah. But I'm not really that worried about debuffs here. Again, there's some potential from defense breaks on the Savannah going into a lot of procs, the Sylvia, but we have the Leo defense, not defense, but the Leo damage reduction for the main threat with just the speed. And then we're going to have attack bar absorb and stuns from the Helena to kind of cover here. We try to make sure that we can get as much immunity coverage as possible. And then I'm being a little aggressive here with the Helena. There's always some worries that, you know, if I transform here, we have 2 units of full attack bar. If we miss the absorb, there's a chance that I lose the will and get silenced there by the Kumar. I think I'm a little more worried about something like that happening than actually something dying here. Again, we have this Lulu on a pretty tanky build with heavy minus wind, and there's not a ton of damage threat from the Sylvia or the Kumar in the team up. So I think we're okay here. I thought a little bit about just going for the skill 1 because we would actually finish off the Sylvia there, but we actually were able to do it, or at least put into kill range and just confirm the kill with the Lulu. And from here on out, I think a lot of the randomness that can get a kill on the Lulu is pretty much gone. And again, we survived turn 1. We got the 2-turn immunity up from the Lulu, and then we were able to tank this out pretty good. And I think I ended up having to sit. We waited like 2 hours to take this tower. So we kind of lost the end of that video. But next, we're going to go into, we've been seeing a lot of this Kamun Tsuki Betta. This is something that Malicious ran in the last tourney, and I think a lot of people have actually still been struggling against it, and we've seen a lot of different guilds running it. This has been my favorite counter that we found to fight into this. It's Water Twins Chloe. You run either a Swift Chloe or a Violent Chloe that's fast enough to be ahead of a 286 Tsuki or Kamun, and I run minus water on both twins. You probably could run Delton. I think the way that I've seen this lose is just if Tsuki goes absolutely crazy and the AoE damage ends up retargeting him off of the Chloe. Obviously, you're going to run minus water on the Chloe itself, but we're just going to keep killing the Tsuki every single time he gets revived. We're going to use that 3-turn immunity from our Chloe to stop us from getting heal blocked, except for in the small gaps of it. And we're just, again, we're going to kill the Tsuki, and then we're going to kill the Betta, and we're going to leave the Kamun for last. There are a couple variations of the team comp that make it scarier depending on what offense you're running. We're seeing here that it's Nemesis on the Betta, so if you try to do any sort of cleave, there's a good chance that it's a tanky Betta that's going to live and then cut in between your 2 nukes. Or you could see like a Swift Betta that just throws up the anti-crit if you're trying to do some sort of like Julie comp into this. And then it can also just be, we see max res sometimes on both the Kamun and the Tsuki, which makes it harder to get timely kills if you're going to like MST this or something, or like Kamun, Lauren, and Lucia it. But with this variant, we have the Water Twins has the accuracy lead, so even if we do have max res, we're still going to land a fair amount of defense breaks. And as you can see here, the Chloe does get worn down a little bit, especially if you take a little while to kill the Tsuki, and he's up for a couple of turns in between you killing him and him getting revived. But again, pretty safe, pretty clean, and I'll probably end up doing this again sometime this siege. Next, we're going to go into this new defense from the SD side. It's a Triana, Armana, and Tsuki, another Tsuki defense. We're going to run a Logan, Cha-Cha, and Triana. The main damage threat here is going to come from the Tsuki, but you should just be wary that they could be, Delton, crit damage. Trianas, you could have a fair amount of additional damage from an Armana. And then this defense is just pretty defensive because you have both the Triana passive, the healing from both the Armana and the Triana, and you have the revive on that Armana. And this Tsuki is going to scale up and do a lot of damage later on. So we're going to try and use the Cha-Cha skill 3 to limit the damage from the Tsuki. I missed it here, but you'll see that's okay. We're funneling all of the AI into this Cha-Cha. The only exception is that if there's no defense break, then the Triana can kind of hit whatever she wants, but we're not too worried about that. We have double cleanse between the Cha-Cha and the Triana, and then we have newly, I don't say buffed, but more used Logan now that he's really good into Kinky. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to kill this Triana first here. I think depending on if it's like a really tanky Triana, potentially you could go for something else. As long as we're hitting our skill 3s later in the fight, and we're not really that worried about dying here, and we just want to be able to kill this Armana as quick as possible. But you can see here that when we get that Triana revived, as long as we get to move again, we just get to kill down this Triana one more time, and now we have, I think it's like 7 turns before it's going to have another revive, and we should just focus down this Armana. I think here, in some of these fights, I might have done a couple of hits into the Tsuki. Like, I think here I skill 3 the Tsuki just because it was low attack bar and it allowed me to cycle. I think this is, it like seems nice from the short-term perspective of like it allows me to kill the unit really fast and to cycle the Logan skills, but it doesn't end the fight really that much faster because I think we're going to get one more revive from this Armana and everything's just going to come back. So I think even though it looked nice to finish that off here, probably should have kept going on this Armana. But again, not too worried. We have a lot of control here. We have a lot of sustain. We still have the passive from the Triana to save something if something goes wrong. And then Logan also just does such a great job cleaning up these units as they get revived because they're all low health, and he can just skill 2. Let's see if he gets to move here before the Triana. Yeah, so we can just skill 2 one thing, get another turn. Do I kill the Tsuki again here? No. Okay, so I go for the Armana here. Again, the Tsuki might have skill 3 up here to heal, but it's okay. We're just looking to finish off the Armana as possible. I guess we actually killed the Tsuki just because we had the defense break and it was 1 attack. But then again, there we are, able to close out that fight. Next, we're going to go into Sierra Orion Perna, something we don't see a ton of anymore. I'm going to bring in my Malacca Fran Triana. The idea here is that you have really tanky low speed Fran and Triana, and you should be able to just survive turn 1 and throw out bombs and hopefully be okay from there. We get all the debuffs into the Fran, get a bomb. So Fran lives just barely. Sierra is just going absolutely crazy, gets a double bomb off and is able to kill my Fran there. I think we still have a chance here if we land some bombs. We end up missing all the bombs basically that mattered. I think if we had gotten the bomb on the Sierra, there's still a good chance we win here, but at this point we're just going to quit out. I think I'll probably, if we use this again, put a lot more health on the Fran, but I still think we got pretty unlucky. It was all the debuffs into the squishiest unit that really mattered in terms of the attack bar, or in terms of the attack buff for the Malacca. And we missed all the bombs. Another thing kind of interesting about that offense is that potentially now Sierra on the pushback on the bomb, it might not actually be as good because it can mess up your turn order and push the Fran behind the Malacca for the first turn. Next, we're going to go into this Long Escher and Rakan. We're taking in a Bulwark Amelia Windy. I think basically there's like some potential scare if we get some procs the first turn and Escher skill 2 with Molong S3 can do something. I ran minus water on both of these water units, and we're just going to snipe out this Molong as fast as possible. We already had the heal from the Escher on turn 1. And from here on out, there's going to be a little bit of healing, but this Rakan is not going to kill anything. Our Windy is super tanky. We have plenty of sustain through the Bulwark, and between the Escher and the Rakan, we're just getting a ton of stacks, especially with the Amelia and the Windy on our side. Our Bulwark is going to have 5 stacks every turn or every other turn, just because literally every unit on the field here is contributing to him having stacks. So we're just going to finish off the Escher next. Do a skill 1 from the Amelia here, and then it's just a couple more turns to feed stacks to the Bulwark and to finish off this Rakan here for our next win. Next, we're going to hit this inner defense, which is Tessarian, Momo, and Vigor. It's pretty interesting now with the HP lead on the Momo. I think makes her a lot more viable in other defenses. Just a really globally useful leader skill. We're going to just bring in Gani Wusarika. We're just going to try and keep the Vigor reset as much as possible so there's no healing, and we'll be able to wear down this team with dots. On top of that, just as many glancings as we can get up is also useful just to reduce the damage. Ganage decided that he wanted to like AoE glance that first turn, get our dots up, and I think as far as damage goes, we're going to see the most output after a couple turns from this Momo. I didn't switch artifacts on my Gani, so he actually doesn't have minus fire, so I think I'm going to try and prioritize using skills into that to some degree. I just want to make sure that thing is not going to go too crazy. We can see he gets to match my Gani 3 turns with his Tessa 3 turns. I think we're going to try and get that sleep. Don't get it, but we get a slow debuff from the Rika. And you can see here that we have potentially some lapse in immunity, but because Gani procced a million times, we're able to put back up a reset on our Wusa. And I think with one more set of dots here, we should be able to take out this entire team. I think this is a lot safer if I ended up putting the damage reduction on my Gani, because, you know, Tessarian can still pump out some good damage here. And if you don't play this completely defensively, then you can see breaks in immunity. Obviously, if you're spamming your resets on the Wusa, you can just have infinite immunity, and this team just doesn't have any strips. Yeah, pretty clean here. I think I wasn't sure if I was allowed to take this yet, so we're pausing for a second here, and we're gonna go ahead and finish this off. Next, we're going into this Triana Fey Darien. We saw malicious from this and a couple other guilds are running it too. This is an insanely tanky Fey. I just have a fat Lucian set on this TQ here, but we're just trying to kill the Fey first, and then we'll go into whatever doesn't have immunity so we can defense break. My gut feeling is that any defense that the Fey doesn't just drop dead is not going to really have enough damage to threaten you. I think the worst case is that your TQ dies and then ends up being a 2v2 of the Rayoke Ferd, which I still think should be pretty in your favor. I have seen this lose maybe once or twice over a bunch of matches, but I think more likely than not, you're going to be able to roll over this defense with this offense. Next, we're going to go into the Triana Tsuki Armana again. Same team, same Marines as before. I think we're just going to try a little bit to kill the Armana a little faster. I think we ended up killing the Tsuki like 3 times the previous time. And man, all these Tsukis must be on max res, because I think my Chacho's on like 20 accuracy and then a 20 accuracy artifact for skill 3. So somewhere in like the 40s. So if it's max res, it's a good chance that we're missing a lot of these. My Logan, I think, is decently high ac. So we were seeing some more things land there. So maybe something to be aware of. I think this is a lot safer if you do have that accuracy in order to shut down the Tsuki damage, since it's really more of a single threat defense. And then again, you want to have some accuracy too on your Logan anyways to land the defense breaks and the pushback so we can cycle his skills. But you're not going to be killing that Tsuki first here likely, so it's okay not to have it. We saw 16 Ks out of this Logan. Love to see it, just putting that Triana in the grave. It's going to come back up just to get shut down again here. I think we're going to move. No, I think the Triana is actually going to go in front, get the immunity up. Shouldn't really matter too much here. Again, we're looking pretty healthy here. We're not too destroyed, and we're just going to kill this Triana one more time, see if we can get the swap. We get resisted again. I think it has to be max res, or we're just getting super unlucky. Kill this Triana a second time. And I do the same play again, where I see the Tsuki is at no attack bar, and I get greeted into the extra turns. I think in retrospect, you're not doing too much here. You just need to kill the Armana to end the fight, and also you can see the Tsuki got the skill 2 off and got a fair amount of healing in. I think maybe I pivot here. We do try and go for the Tsuki because we have the resets. I think Logan's just going to go crazy and end it here anyways. We're just getting tons of procs, and he does so much damage when he cycles through like this. And I guess, had a little bit of weird target selection in the end, but it worked out. For our last fight, we're going to hit this Nana, Nora, Savannah. We're going to take in a Tractor, Juno, Lala. Again, biggest thing that we're worried about is damage Nana killing one of our fire threats. I think Juno into Nora makes it so you have tons of sustain. It's really just about getting one comboed. I think that also the speed buff change on Juno makes this defense even better, because it's really hard to deny the Juno turns, because you're going to have that speed buff. This first turn looks a little scary because the Savannah gets the pushback onto the Juno, but it's going to move in front of his team. So we're not going to bother using our skills quite yet on the Lala. We'll save that because Juno is just able to fully top herself off. One thing that I like to think about in this defense is that if at any point you feel like you're falling behind on healing, you can always just change targets and have the Juno attack the Nora. Nora's passive is that she puts dots on you whenever you hit her. So if Juno attacks the Nora, then she gets the extra dot, which gives your team the extra healing. And in reality, you're just looking to semi-sustain through this. There's not a ton of sustain on this defense. The Nora does a little bit, but you're heavily out-sustaining them. So even chip damage, if you have to search targets a little bit, is still really useful to getting ahead in the larger fight. So you can see here, this looks maybe a little scary because we got lots of dots left and we're taunted on our Juno, but we're going to be able to get that big heal from our Juno. And we still, I don't think I've even used skills yet on our Lala. And I don't even think we need it here. Yeah. So just going to keep cycling through here. I think we're going to try and kill this Nora next and just leave the dismounted Savannah. Again, it's like kind of unlikely, but you saw at the beginning what was kind of scary was getting the pushback on the fire units from the Savannah. But as soon as we dismount that, we're able to just keep it dismounted, kill the Nora. Actually going to kill the Nora twice because she was pretty destroyed and pretty low HP. And then we can go ahead and finish off this Savannah and then finish off this last attack. So again, ending up 9-1 today. Kind of awkward losing to the old tier Orion Perna, man. Those defenses that are just 2 damage units and like a turn 1 unit or something are still so scary, because if you just get 3 procs in a row on the first turn, it's really hard to tank. And something interesting to think about too is that how the Oracle changes don't seem that impactful from like a counter standpoint, but I think it really does nullify that Fran counter. Again, can mess up your turnover with the pushback, and then Juno with the speed buff I think just makes her even more powerful on these offensives. Anyways, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.